When parents first hear the word autism, they're given a list. Occupational therapy, speech therapy, behaviour management plans, academics, all important things. But there's a missing piece that no one really talks about, and that changes everything. Many children can learn words. They can follow instructions. They can achieve academically. But when the world changes, when things don't go as expected, when they have to connect with another person, that is when things fall apart. They melt down, they avoid, or they freeze. And parents are left wondering, why is my child struggling when we've worked so hard? The truth is, most approaches focus on static skills, things you can repeat, rehearse, and memorize. But life isn't static. Life is uncertain. Relationships are unpredictable. And that is where our children struggle the most. Think of it like this. It's like giving your child a toolbox with fixed tools. Useful? Yes, but only if the situation matches the tools. Dynamic intelligence is like teaching them how to problem solve with whatever is around them. That's the difference between surviving in our changing world and thriving in it. So if you've ever felt frustrated, if you've ever wondered, why does progress seem so fragile? Why can't my child use these abilities outside of the therapy room? It's not your fault, and it's not theirs. You were never told about this missing piece. That's why the Relationship Development Intervention, or RDI, exists. It focuses not on filling children with more skills, but really laying the foundations for independence, resilience, and meaningful relationships. In this session, I'm going to show you how. When we think about human development, it's tempting to think of it in terms of milestones. First words, first steps, first day of school. But beneath those milestones lies something deeper, something so natural that we often overlook: relationships. Our brains are wired to develop through interactions with other people. Think of a toddler. When they fall down, they'll reference their mother to see, okay, is she worried? Is she smiling? That is social referencing. Or a young child that claps and dances in coordination with his father. That is co-regulation. These early relational moments shape how our children learn to regulate themselves, to trust others, to explore the world with confidence. Now imagine a child who can read words off a flashcard, who can follow a routine. Useful? Yes. But without the foundation of relationships, these skills don't translate well to real life. When things change, when a friend doesn't follow the script, when a teacher changes the schedule, the child may feel overwhelmed because they don't have that relational base that allows them to adapt. There's a little girl whom I work with. I first met her when she was about 4 to 5 years of age. She's smart, she's articulate, but when things don't go her way, that is where the struggle happens. At birthday parties, she'll want one of her friends to stay close with her. And if the friend interacted with another person, she'll get really upset because she couldn't control the dynamics of that situation. She couldn't adapt. She couldn't adjust. She didn't feel confident in herself that she could handle a relationship that was more than one-on-one. So it wasn't a lack of intelligence. It wasn't a lack of articulation or communication. What this child lacked was flexibility, resilience, the ability to adapt to a dynamic situation, to regulate her own emotions, and to trust that she could handle the challenges that came her way. That's the missing foundation. When we build skills without providing the relational foundation, it's like placing bricks on sand. The child may achieve well in certain settings, like in the classroom, or doing a worksheet, or doing a test paper, or sitting for exams even. But they struggle in the everyday world. When we strengthen that relationship foundation, everything else becomes possible. Children learn to trust, to take risks, to recover, to share joy, because they know that they're not alone. And here's the hopeful part. This foundation can be built at any age. Whether your child is 3 or 13, you can create opportunities to strengthen this foundation. It begins not with more lessons or therapies, but with how you and your child connect in everyday life. In the next part of this session, I'll talk about the central role that parents play. Because you're not just caregivers or managers of behavior. You are the guides who can open the door for your child's growth. When we think about parenting, it's easy to see ourselves as managers, the ones who fix problems, give instructions, and make sure that everything runs smoothly. But what if our role can be more than that? What if we were guides instead of managers? Guides don't just control the outcome. They open the door for our children to grow and to develop. A manager prompts, directs, and often jumps in order to fix things. A guide waits, models, supports, and steps back. The difference may seem subtle, but it actually changes everything. One is about control. The other one is allowing for connection and growth. One simple way to practice guiding is to start with a 5-second pause. Now, this 5 second is not a magic number. It's just a way of starting. So instead of rushing to correct or to prompt your child, pause. Give your child the time and space to think, to experiment, to struggle even. That short pause can make a big difference in terms of the child's independence and problem-solving skills. Because the truth is, when we rush in, we did the problem solving. But when we give our kids the time to think, to work through the challenge, they are the ones that are building their minds and problem solving on their own. I remember watching a homework clip that was submitted by a parent. A child wanted to get paper so that she could draw, but the paper was underneath a huge stack of books. So instead of rushing to get the paper for her, a mom just waited and gave the child time to think. The child then suggested, "Oh, let's do it together." So mom said, "Okay, let's do it together." So they tried pulling the paper together, but it still didn't work. And mom paused again. And finally, the child resolved the issue and she managed to take the paper out. You should have seen the smile on her face, that feeling of pride and confidence. That is the gift we want to give to our children, the gift of feeling competent. Just pausing became such a powerful teaching moment. Many parents worry, am I doing enough? Being a guide isn't about doing more. It's about doing things differently, stepping back and trusting your child, and knowing that support is most powerful when it is measured and mindful. Now that we understand the mindset of guiding, let's explore what we're guiding our children towards, the processes that form the foundation for lifelong growth. So what are these processes that we're guiding our children towards? In RDI, we focus on core building blocks, processes that are not taught in the classrooms, but emerge naturally through day-to-day interactions. Social referencing is the ability to check in with others for guidance. A child might look to a mother's face before trying a new toy to check whether is it fun, or is it safe. Social referencing is the foundation for learning from others and understanding social cues. Regulation is managing emotions, staying calm, and recovering after stress. Picture a child who's getting frustrated with doing a puzzle. Instead of giving up, they pause, they take a deep breath, and then they try again. That's regulation, a process that supports confidence and resilience. I remember one of the boys that I worked with, he was struggling with a worksheet that the teacher had given him in class. What he did was he asked to excuse himself. He took a walk to the toilet. That walk regulated him. And once he felt regulated, he came back and proceeded to complete the worksheet. Communication goes beyond requests. It's about sharing experiences. I remember there was one boy, when I asked him to share with me about his trip, he started to give me a blow-by-blow account from taking the taxi to the airport and what he did while he was sitting at the airport waiting for the plane. When we cannot have meaningful, mindful conversations of shared experiences with others, then it's going to be hard to connect with another person. When we communicate, it's a sharing of minds, of perspectives, points of view, emotions. That is how we build relationships through our communication. I remember another girl when her grandmother asked her, "What are you doing in RDI?" She told her grandmother, "Do you realize that RDI helps me to communicate with other people and to make friends?" That one statement spoke volumes. Dynamic thinking is flexibility, adapting to change, seeing the bigger picture, handling unexpected events. I often tell the story of one of our boys where he got left behind by the school bus during his first week in a new school, and his teacher had already gone home. Now, can you imagine a new environment, new people? That was potentially a meltdown moment. But what he did, because he has dynamic intelligence, he made the decision to go next door, to ask the teacher in the next room and explain his circumstance. Now, when his mother got home that night, his mother asked him, "Now what would have happened if you couldn't find the teacher next door?" Well, he told her, "I would just go to the general office. There's always somebody there." A child with dynamic intelligence will be able to adjust and handle unexpected challenges that come his way. These building blocks grow slowly from everyday moments. Every interaction, every pause, every shared success helps to strengthen them. Building these processes is a journey, and every journey tells a story. Let's see what this journey looks like over time. RDI is not a quick fix. It's a gradual journey guided by your observations, your intentions, and the relationship that you share with your child. One tool we use is the mission preview, where parents outline their short-term, their medium, and their long-term hopes for their child. These goals guide daily decisions and helps you notice progress over the weeks and months, not the days. There was another boy that I worked with. Let's call him Jay. Okay, Jay was already about 8 or 9 years old when we were working with him. I remember during one camp, the volunteer for that camp was so exasperated with him because he refused to do anything. Because every new activity, every new event felt like a huge challenge, a mountain that he couldn't surpass. So what he did was he sat under the table, refusing to move, refusing to participate. Fast forward a few years, Jay was a completely changed preteen. He was no longer afraid of new events and new challenges. In fact, he pushed himself to explore new challenges. He had been playing the drums for many years, and he told his mom, I think it's time. I would like to learn a new instrument." This was possible because his mother presented him with opportunities to work through challenges and to celebrate the successes when he managed to overcome challenges. This is what built his resilience. And this is what gave him the courage to explore and to trust in himself that he was capable of resolving problems that came his way. So today, he now approaches new situations with curiosity rather than fear. Progress may seem slow, but it's real and meaningful. And remember, it's not about teaching your child to cope with the world. It's about equipping them to thrive in a world that's constantly changing. So how can parents begin this journey at home? Let's look at some practical steps you can start with your child today. Starting with RDI at home doesn't have to be complicated. Small, deliberate steps can make all the difference. Use the 5-second pause. Give your child time to think, to experiment, and to figure things out for themselves. Create small, authentic, manageable challenges. Whether you are preparing a meal, packing a bag, keeping your groceries, taking a walk, think of opportunities where you can create these small, manageable challenges. Now, the key is manageable because we want our kids to be able to really work through them and overcome them. So make it just a little beyond their comfort zone, and you are there to guide and to support, but not to overcompensate. Celebrate the effort and not the outcome. When we celebrate the effort, it builds confidence, it builds resilience, and it builds motivation. You don't have to do this alone either. Download our free ebook. Look out for all the resources that we have on our website and our various social media channels. Or, when you're ready, connect with an RDI certified consultant for support. Remember, your child is capable of growth, and you are capable of being their guide. Every pause, every challenge, every success strengthens their path towards thriving.